Good morning, everybody, and welcome. We are back. It is Wednesday. It is Wedge Wednesday. The NBA is heating up, per se. The Florida Panthers are coming back home in the Stanley Cup, and can anybody stop Max Verstappen? All of this and plenty more on today's episode of The Uninformed Fan. I am your host, back from the beach, sunburnt, ready to roll, and with me, my good friend with his new look, Mr. Jeffrey off of the schneid. Jeffrey, we are looking good over there, my friend.
This is completely unintentional. This will be very brief, and the beard will be back soon. I don't like my face without a beard on it.
I do.
What happened is that, so, we have been off for a few shows, and me and my family were fortunate enough to close on the house.
Congratulations.
We were going for on Monday. And so and of course, the guy who we've been going through everything with, we have our closing scheduled for 10:30 Monday morning. We go in, we sign all the paperwork, we're ready to take the picture with the keys and with the everything. They told us, we sent over the paperwork to the guy, FedEx or whatever, they did on Friday, and he has it. We're waiting on him to send it back over. He also has an e-signature document that he can do as well, too. Okay, cool. So this is what they said when we get there. Well, then while we're there, the guy calls, knowing that the appointment was at 10:30 and he was supposed to show up and sign. Says, yeah, I'm not going to make it till around 5 o'clock. So he decides to roll in there instead of 5 o'clock, he rolls into the title company at 5:20 to try to fill the paperwork out. And they try to fill everything out and get it over. Doesn't happen. Can't close till the very next day. Just one more step in this guy's.
Seems like a really stand-up guy.
I mean, just... whatever. I'm glad we got the house, and I'm glad the deal we got and wanted to praise for. We're very blessed. But in the process of all this, it has been a hectic week for me. So I had to go to work yesterday, and in the process of getting ready, I overslept a little bit on my alarm. We're moving. There's a lot going on.
Oh, boy.
Oversleep a little bit, run to the bathroom. I know that I'm going to have a large party that night, 18 top, that's contracted and so on and so forth. I should probably shave a little bit. So I grab my clippers, and I hit this one time. There's no guard on the clippers. So if you've ever been there before in your life, in a barber chair in front of your mirror, the feeling that you get where your stomach just drops. You can't believe you just did that. But you got to match the whole thing up. So the whole thing came off, and that's pretty much what happened. So
did we go baby?
Hectic.
Did we go baby smooth, or did we go no guard all the way around?
The no guard all the way around. The other problem was too is that I didn't have a straight razor, and at this point I'm already up against the clock to try to make it to work on time. Just one of those situations. Had to just kind of clip it and forget it and keep.
Well, I think it looks great. Makes you look 10 years younger.
Kids hate it. They're already yelling at me today. We're trying to get the house packed up. This will probably be the last broadcast from the bunk beds. So, no more as well. So I do want to give a shout out as well. Well, our good friend Marcus Buffington decided to come in and dine at the restaurant for his birthday. So I want to wish Marcus a very happy birthday to him. Buff is one of our most loyal followers and has been from the beginning. We appreciate you, Buff. I hope it was an amazing birthday. I know you enjoyed everything, but I just want to say thank you again. Really a great guy.
Definitely. Happy birthday. I know I put that out there already, but happy birthday to the Buffster. And, the only thing that I'll say in regards to also the Buffster is, bro, quit trying to snake my fantasy players. Every time I look at one of my team members and I see there's one team interested, it's always Marcus Buffington. So if you want to trade, bro, send me a trade. Otherwise, quit staking my players so when I drop one, all of a sudden you think you're going to snag it. Okay?
Yeah, it looks like we might have some action today on this fantasy team as well too.
I sent over a few trade proposals, and we got one back from Little Fitzy. We'll see. I don't know. We got to crunch some numbers.
It's funny. I'll pay attention. I let you run the show. You're much more knowledgeable when it comes to all this than I am. And when I watch things sometimes, and I'm just like, man. Like, what a waste having Josh Hader on our team is. And for the simple fact that, he's the closer, and the Padres do not win baseball games at all. and he just sits there.
And
It's
one
like
of
a
the most
collectible.
loaded teams in
It's
Major League
insane,
Baseball.
and it's like a collectible that you buy and that you keep on a shelf, and it just collects dust. And you're like, no, I'm never gonna sell it. I'm just gonna let it appreciate in value till the day that I die, and I'll never get any, whatever. I have sentimental value over it, but that's it. I don't have any financial gain. I'm just a hoarder, and I'm just gonna keep this guy till the wheels fall off.
The good thing about our format, however, though, is you can only start 13 pitchers up till Sunday.
Right.
So I mean that gives it. So he's always sitting there because we always have a reliever spot available. Well, you would think, especially during the draft, that team, how loaded that team is. But we all know in baseball, comes up to July, All-Star break, and all of a sudden, it's a new team. It's a whole different team.
They get hot.
Yeah, they're gonna get hot.
But dude, it's like if you look at their team, right? Are you kidding me? Machado, Bogarts, Tatis, Soto, Cronenworth. They got Arms, Musgrove, Snell. I mean, what?
Well, Musgrove has been a dumpster fire this year, and Blake
Terrible
Snell
this year.
finally is starting to get going. But
he's starting to run into form a little bit.
Yeah, so we'll see. We got a couple little trades going on here. We'll see what happens. I don't know if you did see as well before we move on here. I did pick up Jamison Talon today. After I put on there that he could be the worst pickup in the history of baseball. Obviously I watched a lot of Cubs games and I was listening to it, and he had a really good start his last start, and I liked what I heard coming out of him. He said, I went back to my basics. I'm throwing. I'm not trying to overthrow anymore. I'm not trying to get that velocity. I'm trying to get that. So he put up 22 points his last one. We're actually starting both pitchers from the Angels-Chicago game today. So let's...
Fingers crossed.
Hey, we're going to get 5 points out of one of them, right? Someone's got to. Actually, we know we don't have to. They could both just get us whatever. But yeah, we'll see.
-15.
Yeah.
Well, in fairness, we're going to say, you're allowed to change your opinion based off of new information that you receive at a moment's notice. And, I think opinions changing and talking out the side of our mouths will be a common theme here on the show today.
I was going to say, I have a feeling this is going to come up a little bit later. Interesting. Well, let's dive into it, guys. We got a lot to talk about today. We're going to start out with the NBA. I said I was going to make my predictions after Game 2. I still have no predictions. I really think this is going to be a great series. I think it's going to be much better than anticipated. I do, however, believe that Denver does have the extra gear. I just don't know when they exactly implement it. But Game 1 we saw, we got called out to Denver by the Colorado State Police. It was an absolute massacre out there. Miami just didn't look ready. They didn't look, you know what it kind of looked at me? It kind of looked at me like an Eric Spoelstra scout game, right? And what I mean by that is, we're playing, but we're not playing. We're not going all out. We're not leaving it all on the table on Game 1. We're kind of seeing exactly how we match up. Yeah, we can see it on paper. We can see it on video. But I want to see it face to face. I want to see what happens when we do transitions. Mr. Spoelstra, again, one of the best coaches in the NBA, takes said tape of said game, and then all of a sudden changes his game plan. This is how we're going to attack it. This is what we're going to do. And boom, Miami comes out Game 2, handles business in Denver. Close game, but they come away with a split. They have to go back to Miami feeling absolutely amazing. They picked one up in Denver, which I don't think anybody had at that point. I do believe they were undefeated at home during the playoffs. Yep. Coming back home, so again, I'm gonna give the tip of the hat to Eric Spoelstra once again on this. Jimmy Buckets, it wasn't Jimmy Buckets, and going back through his whole playoff career, especially we talked about the Eastern Conference Finals, he hasn't been blowing people away. He hasn't been, out there doing it, but he's been a great distributor, and he's been able to get the ball to the people that had it. Again, I don't know. I can't call this one. If I had to, look at the lines, if I was a bet man, I would say put your money on the Heat, just simply for the fact that you're going to get those kind of odds. I wouldn't lay the odds that Denver is getting. However, I think it's going to be a great series, and I think it's going to be something that the NBA, whether you want to say it's rigged or whatever, has aligned to make sure that this wasn't going to be a sweep. Because if you look back at the last 15 or so finals, they've almost all been 4-2, 4-0. If you look at it, they've all been pretty much 6 games. And so I think that's where we're going to go. I'm still going to lean Denver in 6 on this one as well. Jeffrey, over to you on the Miami Heat side.
You did say we missed the show because we had to go out to Denver because there was what was the terminology you used?
Oh, I don't know about the. There was definitely I don't know, a massacre, a group
So
out of
there was a
Miami.
massacre on a group out of Miami, and it turns out that it was done by a Serbian national.
Oh yeah, Serbian national, his
Cohorts
gang.
or
Yeah,
something
yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
And once we got out there and we investigated, we actually found out that that's not what happened at all. There might have been,
Just a
foul
lot of
play,
shots fired. That's all.
a lot of shots fired, not a lot of shots hit by the group out of Miami in game one. And the Serbian nationals in game one were able to land a lot of those shots. Now, game two happened, kind of a big reverse right there. Jokic has played great in this series, but I've been saying all playoffs, have I not? Listen, do not guard Jokic one-on-one. You have to have a guy up top, a smaller dude who's going to be a little bit scrappy, maybe allow Jokic to put his shoulder down, take a charge, allow your big to control the hoop. It works out better for rotations, works out better for everything. We saw the Heat switch to the 1-3-1 in the fourth quarter of game one, and we saw them play zone for most of the game in game two. It forces Denver to make shots, and the Heat play so great on defense in terms of hustling around the court, trying to close out on the open man, that they, forced up, shots that didn't go in. I will say this, the Heat missed a bunch of wide open shots in game one. They didn't miss a bunch of wide open shots in game two. So if the Heat are going to knock down shots and they're going to be wide open and Denver is going to continue to have contested threes over and over again, you got to give me the Miami Heat all day. And I said Miami Heat in 6, but before this series started, I know you didn't want to take a side. That was my side, was that I believe the Heat will win in 6 games. I still will stick with the Miami Heat in 6 games. At the end of the day, they did what they came in there to do, which is get a split in Denver, which
Absolutely.
Nobody had done. They hadn't lost a game at home the entire playoffs. They come out, they lose to Miami. We'll see how they come back out tonight after getting punched in the mouth. But I think Miami's going to be on fire. I think it'll be a great game. I think all these games are going to come down to these last possessions and these key things that happen. Who's going to execute better? You mentioned Jimmy Butler not scoring. He came alive, hit a few shots there in the fourth quarter. But, yeah, he hasn't been the Jimmy Butler that we saw against the Milwaukee Bucks, the Jimmy Butler that we saw against the New York Knicks, the Jimmy Butler that we saw in the first few games against the Boston Celtics. He hasn't been that guy. So we'll see if he can regain his scoring form. Nothing better than some home cooking, and his home coffee to be able to get his head back on straight. I love the fact that whenever you talk to Jimmy, he does talk about basketball will never be the end all be all. He's like, what'd you do? Oh, I went and saw the new Spider-Man movie, which, by the way, fantastic.
There's another one?
Yeah, it's the Miles Morales, the cartoon one that Into the Spider-Verse.
It's a cartoon?
Yeah. You haven't seen it, Miles Morales?
I'm not watching cartoons. Movies.
It's really good, dude.
No, I'll watch some Family Guy cartoons.
Visually and animated wise, it was a complete and utter mind, because I don't understand how they had different animations from different characters from different times and dates throughout Spider-Man's history, and they were able to melt them all onto one screen together. It was really incredible. It was a great job done by the studio. Good storyline as well too. Obviously, if you saw the ending,
obviously I didn't.
Can't wait for the next one to come out. So we'll see what happens.
The next cartoon,
the next movie in this series, yes, absolutely, it's fantastic.
So you're finishing on Jimmy Butler.
What's your argument against cartoons?
Nothing.
Or animated shows. You don't watch any animated shows?
No. I mean, like I said, I watch like Family Guy, or I used to. I tried watching South Park a little bit. The first couple seasons, it seems like it's a little.
Well, listen, maybe like Jimmy Butler, expand your horizon a little bit. Get out there, spread your wings. Let's watch something a little bit different. Let's get out there. It doesn't all got to be grind time, Tyson. You got to have some balance in life.
I don't actually. I can't tell you the last time I've been to a movie theater. I just don't watch movies. I'd rather sit on my couch. I'm becoming more and more like you.
Which is interesting because you're older than me, but maybe I'm wiser because I discovered this sooner. That's all I'm gonna say.
I guess so. Yeah, but like you were talking about as far as Joker and the way that they guarded him, again, I think that during these finals and playoffs, this last little bit, the Western Conference Finals, and we watch more of this team than we have the entire season. I think a lot of critics, a lot of people haven't spent as much time on them because if that's a West Coast game, you're obviously watching the Clippers or you're watching the Lakers. Well, now they're up front. But I will tell you this. I feel like Joker commits an offensive foul almost 99% of the time that he touches the ball. He is constantly throwing elbows, pushing off. If you look at not even leans, man, I'm talking about thrusts.
But I'm talking about his body weight. Like, he'll just lean on you.
But that's part of the game a little bit. But the fact that he's pushing off, or if you look at him on rebounds, he hooks almost every single time. He grabs somebody's arm. Like, he is just out there playing street ball on the NBA court, and everyone seems okay with it. And then I see some of these other fouls that get called that are air balls. When I'm saying air ball, I mean they didn't even touch the player that shot, and it's just the perception of it. It's just amazing.
You mean the one that was called for him, where on his 3-pointer, where literally nobody touched him?
Nobody touched him. I mean, I've seen, some of them go up for the layups or whatever at the end, or they're on a fast break and, they're going, and, they just dip it on. It looks like, but like somebody goes right over their head, like there's no touch, and they call. I don't know. But like you said, if you're going to let him play like that, which they're obviously letting him play like that, I mean, it's just going to wear down that Miami team as far as Bam and those guys goes. We'll see. It'll be very interesting to see as it goes 3, 4, 5, the stamina. But, we are in the finals now, so we have that super long cushion in between games now. There's no back-to-backs. There's 2 to 3 days off for travel now. They're really really milking these ratings. So
sucks.
Yeah, I don't know. Like you said, if I was putting money on the series, obviously I would put the money on the Miami Heat just simply for the fact of the odds, and I think that's your best value. No way would I lay the kind of money down on Denver. I think player props.
I was mentioning this too. That obviously Jokic is not like the most in shape kid, right? He's like the pudgy kid at the park who used to play with, who never lost their baby fat, basically, as they got to be an adult. So it brought up a question in another group chat that I had: that what are the greatest athletes in all of sports that were overweight?
Bartolo Colon.
Babe Ruth. Go ahead. Hit another one.
I mean, Babe Ruth, though. I mean, that's completely different era.
Yeah, but still. Jerome Bettis.
John Gramero. Mostly
Jr.
Mostly baseball people. Honestly.
A lot of baseball people, right? But I mean, you also have the bus, Jerome Bettis.
Yeah, but I mean, they're big, but they're solid under there.
Glenn Davis.
I'm thinking.
Right?
I'm thinking of Blubber.
Big baby Davis.
Yeah.
Robert Traylor.
Even Perkins.
Michael Sweetney. Eddie Curry.
Yeah.
All guys who were like overweight, who just somehow kind of like made it happen in one sense or another.
And I think that kind of confirms my argument a little bit when we talk about the intensity of the NBA. Now, again, I'm not saying that, guys, that it's not, a high intensity sport, but I'm talking about when that man whose BMI is probably high for his, according to the CDC or whoever, he's probably obese according to the numbers.
Jokic?
Yes.
Nah, he's not obese.
Bro, I'm 6'1", and I'm supposed to weigh 180. Yeah, he's obese, according to that stupid chart. I'm just saying, but you would think about as many times he runs up and down the court, practices, stuff like that. Like, it's not like he's out there consuming 10,000 calories a day that I'm aware of. You would think that a lot of that fat would be burnt off, but that goes back to my point is there's so many timeouts. There's so many TV timeouts. There's so much stoppage in pro sports that besides, I would say, NFL maybe, but even then, they have the TV timeouts. College, they have the TV timeouts. It's just like, to get to that level, it's not like when we played, in high school or Pee Wee leagues where it was just go until the whistle stopped for halftime and the end of the game. I mean, there's so many breaks. And I don't know if you saw, did you see, I think it was Jeff Van Gundy's or Stan Van Gundy's, his NBA proposal league. Did you see this?
Jeff Van Gundy, I believe.
Where there's no more free throws. If you foul, they just get the points. There's no more halftime 5 minutes in between.
5 minute intermission.
He's good. But like your point, they're going back to Miami. You know,
ridiculous.
Yeah, it'd be very interesting to see. I do believe we have that tonight. Is that right? We're on tonight.
Yeah, going on tonight. It's a packed night tonight.
Is
for
it?
Sports. Yeah.
Why? What else is on?
I think Stanley Cup's on the night too.
No.
Or is it? They have 2 days off in between now again.
Yeah, they purposely, I think, split the NBA. So they'll be on tomorrow.
I do know Women's College World Series finals start tonight as well too. I know Florida State's in it. I don't know who they play.
I know Oklahoma's in it. Did they win like 52 straight games?
It's Oklahoma versus FSU then in the Women's College World Series. It is a best of 3, so it's not a winner take all tonight. So you will have a little different. But man, if you like action, we talked about this, like things that women's softball is more entertaining than. I love women's softball. I think it's fantastic. I love the speed of the game. I love the passion that they play with. The ball is humming in there. You know, you think you can hit a baseball. I mean, these ladies with these softballs, obviously the ball's bigger, but a ball rising on you as opposed to diving on you is a little bit different. You know, and the way that they handle the balls, they're just
the way they handle those rising and sagging balls.
Yeah,
good stuff.
Well, there's a rise ball, a drop ball, a screw ball. Yeah.
The Women's College Series, I will say, is entertaining. It is entertaining. Yeah. I remember talking to our good friend Larry D back in the day because he used to coach softball, and I said, you know, that's actually interesting to watch. Why is there not a professional league of that? And he said that there was. They tried to get it. They just couldn't get anybody involved. I guess if it's just, and I think that also goes back to the point of, you know, the reason why some of these ratings are so high, and that you know, is because they are people's kids. Right. So when they get to the professional element and there's travel involved, you know, it's all year round. You know, these people can't go to these things due to prior commitments. So that's why they lose a little bit. But the College World Series is always a great. Florida's in that as well. And the women's softball is always good stuff to see at the end.
Florida's going to a super regional, I believe, to host this weekend.
Yeah. The 9th.
The men. Yeah.
Yeah. They play South Carolina Friday, Saturday.
Little SEC action.
Little SEC action. So, you know, anything to wrap it up. So we got them tonight. We got the the Heat and the I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong day here.
Give me the Heat tonight. Heat win tonight.
Denver's still favored by 2.5.
They are. They will be favored every game in this series, which is why I thought it was egregious when I looked at some of the lines in terms of series prices, and if you bet the Heat to win in exactly 6 games, you know, what the number was, because every night on the money line, they're going to be, for the most part, if they're not home, these first few games, they were like plus 275, plus 300, you know, to win outright. So you might as well just parlay those games together or just take them straight up, and you're going to get to your number anyway, instead of having to take the Heat in exactly 6.
I apologize. So I was on the wrong tab here, and I missed a lot of the producers' inputs over here. So I just want to recap that real quick. He was talking about Charles Barkley as one of his bigger people. I didn't think Charles Barkley was that big.
He was hefty. He was actually more. He wasn't like a ripped guy. You know, he was a little bit bigger and stronger. And I do remember seeing some pictures of Chuck with his shirt off. I think maybe at Auburn, where he was pretty jacked dude.
The round mound of rebounds,
especially later on in his career. Absolutely, yeah. When he started throwing people through plate glass windows in downtown Orlando and yugging beers and having a good time, you know, that body type kind of went out the window, much like it does for most of us in high school.
So he says that Jokic is 6'1", 284. Now, obviously, that's listed on paper, and I think that's, I don't know.
See, I don't think he's 6'1".
I said 6'11".
6'11". Okay.
284.
Okay.
So, Jeremy, can you get me
Shaq played at 7'2", 330 in his day.
That's a big boy. Oklahoma versus FSU. Yep. Sooners have won 51 straight. Yeah, so that's what I was saying. So Should be a good game tonight. Apologize. So it should be a great game tonight. We'll see what happens. We'll see if the Miami Heat can keep it going. Can Denver get the momentum back to their side? I do think Denver picks up one out of here. I think we split both ways. To your point, I think Miami does pick up one at home. I just don't know which game. I'm going with Denver in 6. Jeffrey is going with Miami in 6, and we will regroup and recap on Friday to see where we're at. Moving on. The NHL playoffs. We're finally in the Stanley Cup Finals. We have the Las Vegas Golden Knights versus the Florida Panthers. Florida Panthers have been the Cinderella story throughout this entire playoffs. They came up, they got absolutely blown out the first 2 games in Vegas. Now, I don't know if you got to watch any of this, but I managed to tune in for what they call their pre-game show, and I got to say, it's pretty corny. Have you seen this?
No, I've been blessed enough to have to work every night that they've had a hockey game on, so I haven't had to watch the absolute dismantling of a team live on television.
It's been bad, and they have this guy come out in the ice skates, and they're fighting. The Golden Knight is fighting the enemy, and there's skaters with swords, and bro, it's too much. It's the
whole show. It's the Vegas show.
It is the Vegas show.
It's what Vegas does.
But I will tell you this now. Going to watch some of the Blackhawks games and even some of the Lightning, I love how they do the animatronics on the ice now. That is absolutely awesome. I don't know if you've seen that, but when they basically you can show a movie on the ice. It's absolutely amazing. That part of it's awesome. But like I said, the Golden Knights have completely outplayed the Florida Panthers the first 2 games. They're taking a 2-0 lead going into Florida, which will be tomorrow, and it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. Hopefully the Florida Panthers can pull off a couple. We'll see. Hopefully they can regroup, change the game plan, and move on to the next one, but we shall see, and that will be played tomorrow night. Also, after the end of this weekend, I don't know if you saw Formula 1. It was a good one. It was in Spain. I tell you, that track was boring as hell.
Red Bull won?
Shocker. I think my cousin actually texted me and said I actually fell asleep during this race. Mercedes, though, did make a couple changes to their cars. They did make a little bit of an improvement, and they showed up. They finished P2, P3. However, if it wasn't for Checo screwing up his qualifying, it definitely would have been Red Bull 1 and 2. Max Verstappen wins the race by 28 seconds, which was absolutely insane. Me and my cousin were talking also about the difference between Max Verstappen and Checo Perez, and the gap is just absolutely huge. They're running essentially the same cars, and Max Verstappen is outpacing his teammate by 20 seconds. It's just absolutely crazy to watch him. We've seen Max Verstappen. I do believe Checo started around 9th, and we watched Max Verstappen start around the same exact position, same strategy, and come up and completely not only pass his teammate, but go on to win the race by a large margin. Checo just struggles to get through the traffic. I was yelling at the TV a lot, but it was nice to see again Red Bull once again on top. I thought it was absolutely crazy that Christian Horner was asked about the Mercedes and the changes that they made to their car and how he felt by it. And his response was absolutely awesome. He said, they still finished 28 seconds behind, right? Absolutely cold from Christian Horner. He gives no shits. We're going back to the point of nobody's stopping Red Bull. I mean, the only people that are stopping Red Bull is Red Bull. Everybody else is light years behind. Lance Stroll finally showed up to this race. Fernando Alonso struggled a little bit on this track. But these tracks that we've seen lately, to me, they're really boring. There's not a whole lot of overtakes going on. It's pretty much however you finish qualifying is how you're going to finish. And I don't think anybody wants that in racing. We want to be able to see some movements. We want to be able to see some overtakes. And we want to see somebody challenge Red Bull. Who's going to challenge Red Bull? You had McLaren that finished both cars in the top 10 of qualifying, and they finished in the bottom half. I think they were the last 5 spots. It's absolutely crazy to see what happens between when McLaren can get an open track and how they qualify versus what they qualify or what they finish in a race. It's actually pretty disappointing. And if you think about that, and you think about you're buying a $1 million McLaren, right, or $500,000, you're driving it. I don't know how much that correlates to your F1, but to watch them get beat by a Honda, I don't know, bro. I don't know. I mean, I feel like it's Fast and Furious vibes, right? Where a McLaren pulls up, and then here comes, Dom and Brian with their little Honda spoon engine, whatever. They just take down the McLaren. I don't know.
Did you see speaking of movies, did you see the previews for Gran Turismo that's going to be coming out?
I have been seeing that. But I think every time that I've seen the commercial, I haven't had volume on that TV, so I didn't really listen to it. But this
My kids are jacked up.
But this isn't the one that they were filming in Miami, right?
No. This is different. This is like literally. I think it's releasing into this month, maybe. I mean, maybe next month. I'm
and
not
what
sure.
is the premise of this one?
Gran Turismo, the video game, obviously. So what happened is that a billionaire owner comes in and wants to start a new race team, so on and so forth. This is the parameters that I got just by watching the preview. Wants to start a new race team, and they do a kind of open tryout. But the tryout also is based off of who is the best Gran Turismo player on the game, the video game. And this is based on a true story. So they hold these open tryouts. This kid wins the tryout. Or a group of kids wins the tryout. They get into a training camp where they have to become athletes and they physically have to train and get ready, for 140 degrees inside that cockpit while you're flying around the track, and a missed break here or a missed turn here, it doesn't end your game, it ends your life, and like I'm just telling you what was on the preview, and the different parameters and ramifications go into it. It looked really good, and my kids who love video games are like, "Oh, I'm so in." So might be a little way for them to get into racing and kind of see what's going on. We'll see what it's rated and see what I have to dodge in terms of language or nudity or whatever it is going on with it during the movie itself. But yeah, it looks pretty good.
You know what I found, bro, is like kids today are, and I'm not saying your kids by any means. I'm saying kids today are already exposed to the things that I felt like our parents tried to shelter us from are like common shit now. Just like language. Like, I was trying to tell my parents, just the acceptance of certain language is just, cuss words are words pretty much now, unless you're in an institutionalized setting, right? I mean, you go out on the streets, it's just the way it is. But that's crazy that so
I would like for my kids to use intelligent language, because a lot of times if you're in a setting wherever it is, using foul language or language that is unbecoming of an upstanding citizen sometimes, in my opinion, just makes you look less smart than what you actually are.
Correct. I believe there's a time and place for everything, right?
Exactly. But listen, the funniest thing, and I was talking about this the other day, is like my kids will get frustrated sometimes, and I'll see them just loaded up, and I can see it being loaded up in their mind, and they look at me and I look at them, and I'm like, you know what? I'll be like, go ahead, let it go. And they're like, seriously? I'm like, let it go. And they'll let it go. They'll let it fly. You'll hear some things come out of their mouth, that are, wow. I can't believe that little 6-year-old just said that. But at the end of the day, then it's like, okay, you said that, you got it out of your system, no more, not unless daddy allows you to. So I let him let it fly here and there, and let it go, as Elsa said, because I feel like it's a little healthy for them to get it out and not hold it in.
Yeah,
but
I'll never forget the first time that I was listening to The Offspring, and I was outside cleaning my car, and there was a song, I can't remember it, but it was like, you stupid goddamn bleep 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 mother bleep, and then I remember I got called inside, and my dad goes, come here, and he puts it in. This is back in the days when we had the stereo towers, right? The whole thing with the equalizers and the 4-foot tall speakers, and he puts it in there and he cranks it up and he has it right on the spot, and it goes off, and he goes, what the hell is this shit? I'm like, Dad, it's just a song, man. Is this the kind of language that you use? I don't know, Dad. It's just a song. That was an interesting day, to say the least. So
yeah, I mean, I think we all can relate to, the, some of the worst times that we've said something and our parents have caught us, and it's kind of been one of those, what did you just say, type of a thing, but. Very interesting. The Offspring, a great band. Molded our childhood. Speaking of offsprings, Are you ready to dive into the elephant in the room?
I am. I'm just. I was just putting out something to Jeremy so he can let them tell the boys. I want to bring them in so they can hear what we're gonna say first of all, and then you know what I'm saying. So then they can go off on it on that. But yes, it is time. It is time to answer. It is time to pay the piper. The PGA Tour and Live have come to an agreement to where everything is going to merge. Okay, I guess he's not going to tell them that. So, Jeremy, if you want to go in there and tell them just to mute, and then we'll do it. But otherwise, you can just fill them in on what we're talking about. The PGA Tour, the DP, and what was it? The IP? What was the
IPF?
other? The IPF,
IFE,
which I don't even know
IFE,
what that is,
like that.
to be honest with you, have all decided to merge and become a conglomerate, one tour entity. And what a world this is, and what it is. I tell you, for somebody that was kind of, not anti-live. However, there was definitely some feathers being ruffled. I just know there's so many people that are absolutely blowing their lid off of this, because there were so many people that said that they would never even watch it if the Saudis got involved in it. And here we are. The Saudis now control the world golf. Jeff, I'm going to let you open up on this. I know you have some very strong opinions. I'll rebuttal, and then we'll bring the boys in, and we'll dive into it. I know Chad doesn't want to talk about it because he doesn't acknowledge Live, but I'm sure Paul might have some constructive criticism for us on that point in time. So, Jeffrey, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I don't know if either of them are really going to, because there's still so much up in the air about the way structure is going to be involved, about what's going to happen, how it's going to happen, so on and so forth. So many questions that need to be answered that we don't have the answers to, and it's going to be pure speculation. But you know what?
But that's what we do, baby.
Who cares? Let's fucking speculate, okay? So when I first saw this come across, I was shocked. I'm assuming just like every other PGA Tour member, every other Live member, and honestly, the heads of Live too, in terms of Greg Norman. Now, if you listen to Phil Mickelson, he had some foreshadowing on it, saying that he thought that there was some big news coming down the pipe. I believe he said that on Sunday, the PGA Championship, that he knew that nobody else did, that he was looking forward to. I guess at the end of the day, Monahan decided that this is what was best for the tour. I've seen Rory's comments about, you spoke about it, about getting the money in from the Saudis and being able to control it. I don't know if that's the proper move here. I think we will have to see the way that this all plays out. I don't like it. I kind of enjoyed the rivalry. I thought they could have worked something out. The team competition thing to me is going to be interesting. We have team competitions already when it comes to Ryder Cup or President's Cup, or whether you went when you were playing college golf and so on and so forth. Now you're unifying them all back together under one umbrella. My question is, who bought who? Who owns who here? Is the PGA Tour run by the Saudis? We don't know the amount of money that the Saudis actually have. We speculate that we do, but at the end of the day, they don't have to report what they're worth, what they own, anything like that to anybody. So we're guesstimating that it's in the trillions of dollars probably for the amount of oil that they produce for the entire world. Now, you mentioned a few things in our pre-show about Saudi Arabia and about laws that are still there, and the outdated laws that are still there. And this whole thing is about Saudi Arabia wants outreach. Well, Saudi Arabia doesn't really want outreach. They want influence for what their money can't buy, in my opinion. But when you look at it, the reason that they're going to offer Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo 2 years, $500 million is to legitimize them. The things that they've gone through, the atrocities that they've been accused of as a country and as a regime are absolutely terrible. And I think this is their way of hoping that they can cleanse themselves of that without actually having to change anything in their country, and hoping to pull the wool over everybody's eyes. Now, will we see the PGA Tour with any kind of, Pride Month celebration? Are we going to see rainbows at golf courses? Because that would be very disingenuous as well, too, for what the Saudis stand for and what they preach. I do think we will get to a point where this will be so corporate driven and it'll be so money driven. The teams, And I think I heard somebody say this about how, oh, well, if you look at it, the teams are already split up into, you have the South American team, and you have the North American team, and you have the Brits and whatever. And so, sure, I'm sure we get to a point where there would be a World Cup of golf, in some way. I do believe we already have the Olympics for that, but whatever, we can figure something out. But I think at the end of the day, it'll get down to sponsorships, and you'll see, you'll have, just like you have in F1, you'll have team Titleist, you will have team TaylorMade, you will have team Nike, you will have team, whatever it is, and Adidas. You'll have your own little teams that are made up of these sects of these golfers that are sponsored, and that's kind of how it'll break down, in my opinion. It's all a money grab. I don't feel bad for anybody. I don't agree. You said that there's winners and there's losers in this. I think if you really want to say that there's winners and losers, I think the only losers in this are going to be maybe Tiger and Rory in the golf league that they're starting. Because this might be overshadowing what they have going on. I don't know if that will actually come to fruition. I know the message will be that this is going to be a win for all golf fans. We're going to get more content. We're going to have more opportunity to watch golf and be a part of it and celebrate it. I don't know if I feel that way in a sense, but what are your thoughts on it?
Well, first, I just want to touch on what you said about the sponsorships, right? So it's very interesting to me that the players that left the PGA Tour to play for LIV, which is backed by the Saudis, lost their sponsorships. They said they didn't want anything to do with that, right?
Not all of them.
The majority of them. Phil lost 3 of his.
Brooks didn't lose his Nike sponsorship, right?
That's the only one he kept, I believe. And we can talk about it. And of course, what does Nike have to say? When you're over there paying kids in China these, what are they gonna say? Oh, bad you. Don't look at us though. So it's interesting that the sponsorship levels, right, and what that happens. Okay, so when you talked about winners and losers, all right, I absolutely believe that there needs to be winners and losers. And the reason why there needs to be winners and losers is because you had Monahan up on his stand beating his drum, talking about how this will never happen, that this entire league, the Saudi-backed everything, is disingenuous to the victims of 9/11 and the atrocities that not only they committed in their own country, but in our country as well. At the end of the day, whoever has the most money gets what they want. And to your point, the Saudi Arabians are trying to wash what they do in their own country and wash what they've done in other countries by buying sports. Now, on the same token, we can look at the atrocities that this country has committed in other countries abroad, right? You go over to Africa and some of the southern villages of Africa and ask them what they think about the United States of America. Or you go to Spain or anywhere, Russia, or, even parts of Ukraine, or even in the Middle East, and you ask them, what do you think about Russia? Or I'm sorry, about the United States. And they have the same thing. Now, we can look on paper and say, okay, the laws that the Saudi Arabia government have are absolutely atrocious. And they are. Like what we were talking about as far as Pride Month and how it's still illegal to be into that sector over there. And some of it's punishable by death. Those are human rights things. So, but now I think that when we're talking about this, we're talking about you're talking about the control. And I do believe that they got a board seat and they have one of the higher level of positions on the structure of it. Do they have full say? Absolutely not. But to Rory's point, he said, that the Saudis want to be in it and they're not going to stop, and they have plenty of money and they will continue. And there was lawsuits that are going on. Well, obviously the Saudis have more money than anyone, any country put together. They can literally dwarf them. They could pay off our entire national debt with one check. That's just facts. And that's just the way it is. So, Rory basically said, these guys aren't going to stop. So they're going to stop. They're not going to stop. They're just going to keep poaching our players, and they're going to continue to do that. It's only hurting the game. So we might as well let them in and then restructure everything to make sure that we're on a global level, that everything's on the same playing field. Now, we listened to that press conference as well, where Rory was talking about, I hate LIV, right? And I thought that was a very poor wording. And then I listened to him. He doesn't necessarily hate LIV. When you think of LIV, you think it's just Saudi Arabia. Okay, he's not saying that. He hated the format. He hated the way that it went. The team thing, which is interesting considering he's doing the team thing. He just hates the format. And he said the way that he stayed with the PGA Tour was to protect the format and everything that the PGA stood for. But then you have the president over there that just basically did a 360. So I think that there's definitely losers, right? I think that there's losers, those people that stuck to the PGA, not the Rorys or the Tigers. Those guys are already so far rich, but you had people that were a little bit lower down, right, middle class, that turned down some of the money to go over to LIV, right, and now they're going to be together again, And these guys got 100 million, 50 million, 20 million to go over there and play for what, a year? It's like, it's like when Ninja left Twitch to go to Mixer, got a $30 million bag, and 12 months later, Mixer's gone. He keeps the bag and goes right back to Twitch. I don't fault him, but that dude he got paid, right? And all of these guys got paid. And you got everybody that was sitting there saying, I'll never watch anything that's backed by the Saudis. And I know that you saw those comments on our Orlando Golf Network page and, just knocking Live whenever they came here. And now it's all together. So now you got people that are really in a pickle, right? So Monahan's really put everybody in a pickle here. He got up. He said, this is not who we are. This is not what we want. This is bad for the game of golf. La, 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 la. Hey, guys, I rescind my comments. There's new information. We're all going to be one. I just think it's an incredibly bad look. I'm not sure how he gets his job, if he's voted in by the players or whoever. But regardless,
I believe.
I think he needs to just take his bag and he needs to be gone. Because how can you look at somebody in the face after that? After you said, don't leave us. Don't leave us. Stand for the integrity of the PGA Tour. Don't move over to Live. Don't accept the bag. Don't accept the blood money. And then 16 months later, you're now partners with them.
Especially when you're the one trying to put your players on this microphone and this pedestal to talk down against it. You're putting them in a bad position, So,
like you said, it's going to be very interesting to see how everything plays out. Are they going to continue to be separate tours? We don't know. I did see something about the IFP tour, or whatever that is, has like $600 billion in assets by itself on that tour alone. That's amazing. It could, this whole thing could be good for golf if the Saudis weren't involved, in my opinion, because there's always just going to be things that looked on and the atrocities that they commit. But again, at what point, the only people I think that are suffering is going to be the fans, right? Because you were either pro-Live or you were anti-Live from the beginning. And there's very few wishy-washy, right? And now you got everybody that's going to be like, well, now what do we do?
Well, let's try to get to our experts. We have our golf experts joining us today for our wonderful Gap Wedge Wednesday that we always have here. I do want to kick it over to Paul first, if I can. Paul, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Paul.
Good morning. How are you, Paul? Now I know you guys probably aren't. And maybe I'm speaking out of the side of my mouth here, just like Jay Monahan. But I know you guys aren't really passionate about this exact subject. Am I correct on that? You don't have much of an opinion either way?
I guess that depends on what the exact subject is.
The subject of the PGA Tour. Well, I'm going to start with Paul first, if I can, Chad. Just the subject of Live and everything merging together.
Yeah, you got Paul here. I might sound more like Chad because I was up late with the toddler, but yeah. So as far as the merger goes, of the PGA Tour, the DP World Tour, and the investment fund, I guess it's the Public Investment Fund.
PIF.
Those are the three entities that are merging.
Correct.
So until we know what the landscape of professional golf looks like in the 2024 season, I don't really have an opinion.
Okay. Chad, any opinion on this?
I don't really have an opinion as long as they keep somewhat of the format that they have now and it doesn't screw my gambling on golf, then I could give two shits.
So from what I understand, nothing will change this year. Everything is going to stay exactly the same. All the live tournaments are still on. Obviously they have a lot to kind of work out and figure out when it comes to that. But they will eventually be unified under one umbrella. Do you think that there's any winners or losers here, Paul?
Tour players. I think those are the only quote unquote losers.
What was the first part? I didn't hear the first part. I just heard
he
players.
said tour players.
Oh, the tour players?
Tour players.
And that's only because of the fact that we, avid golf fans, golf people who cover golf, knew about this merger in real time, just like they did.
Yeah.
So,
That's shitty.
so just like it's taken us, I mean, we're just over 24 hours after all of this broke, and Monahan and the governor of the wealth fund, whatever it is there. I'm not even going to attempt his name. They were on CNBC, and all this news broke, and it's been a whirlwind. I had the Golf Channel on for 9 hours yesterday, and I didn't learn much of anything new.
Yeah.
It was like watching a Sports Center 15 times.
Well,
It's all the same. It's all the same stuff.
Yeah. I was watching
So,
too.
Paul,
Go ahead,
Paul,
Jay.
what you're saying is that I didn't even turn the TV on yesterday, and I know just as much as you do.
Same. I was at the beach all day yesterday. And
Yeah, I think within fractions. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, that's usually how it works.
well, I think
Yeah,
we can all agree that regardless is, we thought that this was going to happen at some point. I mean, we talked about it. We talked about the contracts of the players that were on Live and what would that look like after it. I mean, we did kind of foreshadow a little bit of, we thought that this was going to all be absorbed at some point. But I think we could all agree we certainly didn't expect it already after 1 year, not even one full
Not
year.
even
of
a
Live.
year.
Yeah, not after one full year. But then I was also listening to another take, there was a lot of lawsuits that were going back and forth. And once again, when we talk about the legal system is not cheap. And when you're fighting somebody with unlimited pockets, 9 times out of 10, you're going to settle because you don't have the money to continue fighting whatever it is that they were fighting. But I did see in the press release that after this, all lawsuits have been dropped. Everything's done. All of that litigation has now gone away. So I do think that had a little bit of an influence on it when you're talking about legal stress, legal financial obligations, and you're fighting somebody with unlimited pockets. There's not, regardless of what, even if you win, and you're 5 years down the road and it costs you $100 million. Well, $100 million to the PGA is a lot of money, I would presume. $100 million to these guys is probably what they use to wipe after their morning dookie. So I think we can just all agree that wow, right? Just wow. Never thought it, like Jeff, you just said, they didn't even get through one full season of Live. And we're already now. I want to ask you just one little question here between everybody. Jeff, you can kind of determine who you want to answer. Do you think that the Live golfers' success in these majors had a more of an impact to get this deal done and get this merger done first?
Do I think that the success of the guys on Live in the majors had something to do with it?
Yeah, dude. Like it's one of those things where, like, hey, we need these guys playing on our events as well. They are.
I don't think that was it. I don't think they said I need Brooks Koepka to be at Colonial next year, or I need Patrick Reed to be playing at Bay Hill in an elevated event. I don't think that was on the PGA Tour's mind. I think this was just more of a power grab, trying to stay in power. Understanding what's going to be happening and what's going on, and then trying to figure it out from there. I don't. What, Paul? Do you think that their success had anything to do with the expeditedness of this, if you will?
So according to all the reports yesterday, it's been going on for 7 weeks.
Okay.
Well, it's like I think like Rory said. The Saudis are getting into golf, and they're going to dump the money into golf. You better figure out a way that you could control their money. I guess.
It's a business decision.
Oh, 100%.
This has nothing to do with personal choices or
growing the game.
And until I think it does grow the game. But until we see what the structure of the only thing that I can for sure remember saying regarding Live, other than I don't think that the quality of golf that they're playing based on format and the quality of player that they have overall, I don't believe it's the superior professional golf product. As far as entertainment value goes, I think it was the most entertaining and the most approachable event for non-golf fans. So to get people into golf by bringing them to golf courses, I thought Live was superior in that aspect.
It made it more digestible.
I would agree with that statement. Like I said, they tried to capture what happened at the Waste Management Open and make it into a tour, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with that. And if you look back, and I think this might be repetitive, but Brooks Koepka has won the Waste Management Open twice. And he's won 5 majors.
Yeah.
And I think he only has 2 other professional wins other than that. So when you look at the kind of golf, that Brooks Koepka gets into, it's Waste Management and majors. And
what a combo.
Parties and majors.
Parties and majors, baby.
Nose beers, and real beers.
Hitting nines and ripping lines.
Yeah, the other thing I said was I didn't believe that Live Golf as it would exist in the 3 years that we gave it for their quote unquote contracts.
Yeah. 100%.
So that's true also.
Yep, 100%.
So we'll see what Live looks like coming 2024. The PGA Tour isn't going to look much different, I don't believe, based on what was reported yesterday.
I think we're gonna get one more year of Live. I think you'll get one more year of Live at 2024, and that's just so they can get the parameters outlined, and then I think you'll see Live go away. And the reason why I'm saying that is I think that they'll be integrated into the PGA. You'll see some off weeks, right, when we have some of these lower event tournaments that possibly goes into like a team shootout, like the Rory Tiger thing. But I definitely don't think that Liv stands alone after one more year, tops, if they make it to next year at all.
So the only thing that makes me doubt that is that Greg Norman was not involved at all in any of yesterday's proceedings.
Oh, he's done.
I guess if we're looking for biggest losers, we can find one right there.
And Live as a brand doesn't. So if we mean that there are going to be relaxed environment events on the PGA Tour next year in 2024, things like the DR Open, the Puerto Rico Open, the Barbasol, the Barracuda, all of these lower level events, alternate events, the events that Tyson doesn't wake up for. If we can get those converted to no cut, music on, wear shorts if you want to, etc., that may be a way to integrate the lifestyle of Live onto what we know as the tour, and still give the best players in the world the opportunity to compete against each other at places like Memorial and Bay Hill. And
isn't there an argument though about like wanting to keep some of the sanctity of golf and the way that it is and the way that it has been? And it's like, if you give an inch, you're going to give up a mile eventually, because those inches will start to add up over and over and over again. It's just going to continue to, change what we know and love about the game of golf. And whether that be 3 rounds, whether that be 4 rounds, whether that be what
sport has remained the same over 20 years? Is the NBA same as it was 20 years ago?
Well, I think
NFL
the style, but the style changes, but the format of the game stays the same. You have the same length of a game. Baseball didn't change to 7 innings. Well, they did actually.
I was gonna say they just put in a pitch clock that cut an hour off the game.
Yeah, I'm good with the pitch clock. You still keep 9 innings. You still get 9 at bats. I mean, those parameters don't change, right? But I feel like the more we allow. And this is just a society thing for me as well, too. The more we allow these little things to creep in and that we're okay with them and that we turn a blind eye to them and let them go, then all of a sudden, now we have a full out, gender war in America or whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like, it's like these small things can add up to becomes something much larger over time.
Well, I will agree with
that would be my only concern about it.
I will agree with you on the premise of the 4-day event, and even if you have some no cuts, but still 4-day events or something of that nature.
Yeah.
But as far as shorts, I said that back when I played competitive golf, that I thought that that's absolutely asinine. The fact that we make these golfers go out there in 100-degree weather and wear pants.
Why is it asinine though?
What's the point?
It's a gentleman's game.
It's
not, Harry Higgs can walk around. All right, John Daly can walk around with pants on. All right, I don't want to hear it that
Do you think John Daly?
Rory,
do you think John Daly would have rather wear shorts?
Who cares?
John Daly would rather be wearing shorts, chugging beers, and smoking cigars.
Driving a golf cart.
Wait, no,
you know what?
He's ripping heaters. He ain't ripping cigars. I'll tell you that right now. I mean, he's ripping darts.
Bro, when the Live came out and said they could wear shorts, those players were ecstatic. Ecstatic.
Okay.
How many times have you wore long pants, those kind of dress pants, in 100-degree weather for 4.5, 5, 6 hours?
If I'm showing up for work, I'm not
The
wearing
wedding
shorts.
I was at in Austin.
The wedding I was at in Austin. I understand what you're trying to say, but the world has changed. It's not the same world anymore. Gentleman's game, whatever. I mean, we're bringing blood money into this now, right? Blood money runs it. So, I mean,
This sucks, dude. This sucks.
It is what it is.
I feel like I had a moral high ground to stand on at some point and cut out my Jay Monahan, cut my legs out.
You have no podium to stand on. Well, let's get into it, boys. So we had a tournament last week that I forgot about once again. I tell you, after I get off the show, I get busy doing stuff, and you're
pretty good at forgetting.
I'm an idiot. All right, my mind is gone. Too many drugs back in the day. I don't know what it is. I don't know. I think we had a tournament last week, did we not?
We did.
Yeah, it was the Memorial. It's Jack's course.
I did see Jack out there shaking some hands. He looked okay.
Drinking some milkshakes.
Big milkshake guy.
Victor Hovland obviously goes on to take it down. I believe it was in a playoff. Is that correct? Playoff.
Man, we don't have to undersell this too much. I realize all the excitement is on this merger, but yeah, it's the Memorial. It was a pretty exciting finish. Denny McCarthy going in three-shot lead with 6 holes to play. Hovland gutting it out, taking him to a playoff, finishing him off like one of the best players in the world.
I was nice to see actually Hovland put it together. I will say that. I texted out. I go, "Who's McCarthy?" And I'm not gonna lie, right? Because I was prepared to go in with like one of those. I'm like, okay, who's this McCarthy guy, right? Is he the bottom level at the PGA or whatever? And then of course, Chad. Oh yeah, I picked him. Like this dude comes out of nowhere, McCarthy, and Chad has him and looked at him to potentially win the tournament. That's just sick. You guys are whatever.
Paul had BDV, right? You had Big Dick Vic.
Yeah, he was 5 on our model. Yep.
I thought it was funny though when I saw your tweet that you put out, which real quick, give yourself a shout out. What's your Twitter handle there?
It's at @the_PEEG. The Peach.
There it is, at the Peach. I looked at your tweet and I saw your model that was up there. I thought it was funny though. You said one of these people is going to win, but there was like 25 people there.
There was 20.
Okay, 20. You're like, one of these people is going to win. I was like,
the field's 120.
I think it's great. I know you had the winner. I immediately when I saw it, I'm like, well, which one do I put my money on?
That was also based on the statistics of the driving metrics that he had.
Yeah,
that's why it was on there.
It's something like 11 years in a row that, and Denny McCarthy fell into the category. He actually would have been right above Matt Wallace, who led the tournament for a little while. But I mathed wrong, and
math sucks.
And so I didn't include the guys who were 294, which would have fit into 5 yards under average, and I only. It doesn't matter. It ended up working out correctly, and so it's 11 years straight that these guys have been within It's 5 that way and 8 that way.
13.
Yeah, so say 13 and 14 on a little moving scale. Yards within the average driving distance. So if you hit it really far, you don't win there, and if you don't hit it far enough, you don't win there. So it's a window. It would have been 63 out of the 120 this year. So when you can look, we're odds guys. We look at every number we possibly can to get an edge, and if you can eliminate half the field before an event, and then base your numbers off of those golfers, you have an edge. So unless they change the course, change the course drastically next year,
do the same exact thing
with distance or with pinching the fairways even shorter or whatever it is that they're doing. Unless there's any kind of remodel at Muirfield Village, this is a stat. So we've hopefully we're not giving away too much information to the books, but this is what we do.
Got to watch out for those boys.
And now we're moving into our RBC Canadian Open this week. Is that correct, Chad?
Yes, sir.
Nice. Paul, what kind of what's the course layout that we're looking at here? What do we got going on?
So we are up in Toronto, Canada.
Oh, Canada.
It's
do
not
they have
as
to
though
play both national anthems for this?
I think they just play one, don't they?
I've never heard them play a national anthem at a golf event.
Okay,
Do they
just
do
making
that?
Sure. I don't know. I know the NBA, whenever Toronto's in town, that they got to play both of them. So
Yeah, but that's also like you also have an American team that you're representing. If it was the PGA Tour, they'd have to play like 50 national anthems.
That's
it's
an
just
excellent point.
It's
Excellent
the
point,
PGA.
Jeff.
The PGA Tour. If you think about it,
You
the
pointed
PGA
that out.
Tour is the American Tour, just like an NBA team is in America. It's not the players, because look at all the players. We'd have to play like Nigerian and all that for doing the players.
Does that mean that we're going to have to have the Saudi Arabian national anthem played before every golf tournament from now on?
And
Only
we're going
if they field the team. I don't think the Saudi Arabian national anthem plays at Newcastle games.
Really grown the game lately.
Yeah, this public investment fund, they own Newcastle FC. Is that right?
I believe so.
Okay, so I don't think they play the Saudi national anthem there in Newcastle.
No, I highly doubt that as well, too.
No.
Anyway, sorry. I understand that this is a new course that we're dealing with this week at the Canadian Open. Is that correct?
Yeah, Oakdale Golf and Country Club. You saw a lot of the front doors of it, a lot of front doors of the clubhouse. Anyway, we got a little over 7,200 yards. Going to play shorter than that.
Oh, shorter.
And it's a par 72. Interesting thing about the par 72 is there are only 3 par 5s and 3 par 3s. So you have a little extra on the par 4s. I'll let Chad give you a breakdown on how those are working out. And then I'm checking on a toddler. Stand by.
Thanks, Paul.
All right. So like Paul said, it's going to play shorter than the 7,200. I believe there's 4 par 4s that are going to be under 400 yards. So that's something we're not used to for sure.
Any that are reachable?
I think one might be reachable, but you're not going to have people going for it because the hazards that lay around the green. So you're not going to be a lot doing that. It's going to be more of a place your ball in a spot in the fairway, and you're going to have you're going to have an approach anywhere from 100 to 150 yards. So we're keen in on those guys that are good proximity. From 100 to 150. It's going to be pretty much throw a dart, get it within 15 feet, and make a putt type stuff today or this weekend. So,
I know we don't have a lot of history here, obviously, so it's going to be a little bit tougher to handicap. So, what do we think?
Yeah, I mean, one thing that happens with this is you get courses that are similar to it, where you're going to have guys that are going to just put it out in the fairway, hit an approach shot in the certain area of like 1 to 150. You can get similar courses like that are birdie fests that we think this is going to be
a birdie.
Yeah, it's going to be. Yeah, it's going to be. It's probably going to clear 20 under.
20 under.
Yeah. And I've seen comps of they feel like it's pretty much like last year's at St. George's. That's going to be the closest Canadian course that they've had to it in the recent years. So you can look at that. I know John Deere was one of them because it's a shorter course that you pretty much just place it in the fairway and then hit in from certain spots. You don't want to bomb it because you're going to get in too much trouble if you try to do that. So it's going to bring the whole field in, to where it's a crapshoot.
Any names you like this week? Just to throw a couple out there while we.
I mean, if you're looking at approach and putting, Justin Rose in the last 36 rounds, I believe, is number 2 in approach under 150, and number 1 putting on this surface. So everything says he should do well, so he probably won't, because that's how it usually works out. So you're gonna have to find someone who's gonna do well. If you're thinking the Canadian Pride might be a way to go, because you got like 7 or 8 Canadians playing in this. It's like they're 7 or 8 that are legit. You got a couple of guys that are invited that have never played on the tour before, so they're not really going to be counted. It's not really a thing for them. I don't know what their deal is. There's only been one time that the Canadians won this event in over 100 years. So
fade the Canadians. I feel like it might be a Rory week for some reason. I just have a feeling.
I don't know about that because this whole situation's got him pissed off. He's probably not going to be thinking about golf.
He's fired up.
I would fade the fuck out of him.
I love Rory.
You could probably get good numbers against him. Probably anywhere like 2-1 in a straight matchup.
Me Rory this week.
I'll give you Rory all day.
Obviously, it worked out for Jason Day with me last week, so here we are.
Yeah. I would. If you get any matchups against the Canadians that you have someone that's decent going against them, I would probably do it. Except for maybe Mackenzie Hughes. He's the one's made the cut the last 4 years. All the other ones have been pretty bad. Like Corey Connors is probably the most Canadian, or the best Canadian golfer we all know.
Yeah.
He finished 6th last year, and he's never made a cut since, or before that. So it's just weird. Like they have too much pressure on him or something.
Paul, anybody you like this week? I don't know if Paul's there. I know he's trying to wrangle the kid right now.
I know he was talking about Turo Hatton.
Okay.
So he's a good approach guy. He's
Paul,
top 25.
Anybody else besides Hatton, Paul?
Yeah, am I back on?
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, Hatton I like. I do think Corey Connors has a skill set, but again, that Canadian Pride is tough. They are, as Chad said, historically not that good. One thing I'd like to update on is through all of the hullabaloo yesterday, we may have missed some of the recent updates from the course. Corey Connors' caddy speculates that they're going to finish somewhere between -13 and -15. And there was an update video of the rough. Jeff Feinberg, who is a guy we've followed for a very long time, is a member at this course and was assisting a professional golfer help find a golf ball within 3 feet of the fairway. And it took multiple people to locate the ball.
Wow. Okay.
So they said it was going to be like 4 to 6 inches.
Yeah.
I know approximately what that looks like.
The rough looks very nice. The rough looks like it is going to be trouble. So if we're erring on the side of anything, I would say accuracy over distance. And then guys who can, just like Chad said, the second shot, get it close. And if you're not doing that, scramblers. This is looking like a short U.S. Open setup, like a pitch and putt, like an executive course for a U.S. Open.
You still got to hit the ball straight, though. So
you got to stay out of trouble, and you got to make putts on POA, the bent POA split, but it's going to be what they're referring to as Canadian POA. So
should be a fun week.
There are guys who do pretty well on it. If you're looking for longer shots, we have a few. I don't know if Chad mentioned any of those yet. I was turning on Fancy Nancy and Allison's Wonderland Bakery. Shout out
only at the top of the board.
All right, very cool. Yeah, so Mark Hubbard has been playing really great golf lately. He's not a terribly good putter, but he putts decent on this surface, and his tee to green numbers have been really good if you're looking for somebody for value down there. Aaron Rye is another one.
He's actually number 1 in fairways gained on short courses. So,
yeah.
Some guys I've been looking at. This is like I know Jeff's going to be excited about this one, but this could be a Ches Arivi.
My guy.
Yes. Yeah, I know you like him, so I figured I'd just throw his name out there for you. He's actually 3rd in fairways gained on short courses, so when you need to hit fairways, he's one that can do it. A guy I like is going to be Brendan Todd. He's one of the short guys that good proximity up close, and he can sink putts. The other C Young, Carson Young. I'm gonna be backing him as a long shot this week. He's been playing some good golf lately. I feel like he can do some damage.
Billy Horschel playing in this tourney?
I don't believe so.
Taking some time.
Yeah, he probably needs some time after the whole merge.
Yeah, mental breakdown.
It probably affected him a lot the way he flipped out before. So, I would actually back either of the Wu brothers too. The models show that they mark a lot of boxes on this. So I would back them also as maybe some long shots.
They're here to woo. Paul, anything else you got for us today?
He's got some things going on.
Cool.
I've heard. So you can actually, Jeff, you missed a great opportunity with the Wu brothers because the PGA, they're all about the cream. Take the Wu Tang brothers. Oh,
Chad, any final thoughts that we have today from you before we sign off here?
Do you want me to break it down about how the holes?
No, I don't.
No?
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I don't.
Go ahead.
No, I don't.
The Tyson FCC is blocking me. So
yeah. Veto.
I guess we'll just hope for a good 4 days of golf. Maybe we'll find out some things on the merge or whatever's going to happen, like it matters. One thing I would take into account this week, though, is if guys are maybe not all there in the head because they got the U.S. Open coming next week. A lot of guys just qualified. So you might want to
fade those guys because they don't have anything to play for.
I mean, they still have like their first win ever to play for, stuff like that, but they did get in the U.S. Open. They qualified Monday.
Of course.
I know they played 2 rounds of golf on Monday, so, they might not be all there by the time Thursday comes around and, like, mentally ready to play another tournament. So
get out of there. Go spend some time with your family.
Just some of those things. And I know a lot of guys did withdraw so they could go over to L.A.
Get out of Canada.
It's unlike last year where they went from Canada to Massachusetts. This year it's a cross-country flight
to L.A.
Yeah. So
unless you're Drake, it ain't sweet.
Yeah.
So
Paul just sent another flyer. Tommy Fleetwood might be a good idea this week.
He's got that 3-wood rolling.
He's actually been playing really well lately too.
Yeah.
Great head of hair.
A little time.
Great head of hair on that guy.
The only person that might be better is mine. So
very jealous. Very jealous of that.
Yeah.
What were you talking about with holes in Saudi Arabia, Chad?
No, we're not doing that. Chad, thank you so much for the recap here. I appreciate it. We'll talk to you again back here on next Wednesday for our Gap Wedge Wednesday. Thanks a lot for your input from the boys. We will see you there.
I might come in on Friday for some NBA and hockey. You never know.
I like that. Just pop in the Discord. Anybody's always open to hop in the Discord.
Absolutely.
All right, boys.
All right, have a great day.
See you later.
Appreciate it.
We're definitely.
Can't believe you wouldn't let him tell the joke.
We're not going there. So, as we're wrapping it up, I did want to point out the Trump tweet that we forgot to mention. That
you won't let him tell the joke, but you're going to talk about the tweet.
Yeah, well, the tweet has nothing compared to what that is. So anyway, how long ago was that tweet?
2022,
last year. So Trump tweeted out that the people that were bashing the PGA players, that were bashing the other guys who were taking the bag, were gonna look foolish when the inevitable merger happened. No, say what you want. Obviously, Mr. Trump has a big mouth. He can never control himself. He's an egotistic maniac. But the man knew what he was talking about, and it just happens to, I just feel like it's one of those things, like when you're at that level, right, and you get to the position that you've had of power, and you get in that inner circle, there's things that are happening behind the scenes that us little people, us little pawns on the chessboard have no idea about, and these guys know it. These guys know it before it happens. They're in that inner circle. They probably knew from the beginning that somebody from Saudi said, listen, we're going to get involved in here.
So do you think that he already knew that he was going to be indicted as well, too, on all the crimes that he committed?
Oh, absolutely. You don't think that you watched Billions, right? You watched Billions, great show. Did Axe know every single time when what's his name was looking into him?
He's been like rage tweeting the past 2 days about like the justice system and the DOJ and this and like
the only here's what we're gonna get a little political here as we end the show because it's gonna be a firecracker. So the only thing I'm gonna say about President Trump, right, is a lot of the things that he implemented and the vision that he had for certain structures of the United States government were very, very good. He probably could have been one of the most impactful presidents in the nation's history. Now, when I say that, I'm talking about going against the grain, against the institutions. Now, of course, there's some things that are going to say, well, he did this, tax breaks. Tax breaks have always been there, right? And the loopholes that he used are the same ones that George Soros used and all those other big guys use. However, he is such an egotistical maniac that he can't keep his mouth shut. He can't speak professionally, and he can't hold back. Right? When you're sitting there and you call, Sleepy Joe and Crooked Hillary, those things are funny. But is that what we want to see out of a president? Funny?
No,
it's not. And so all the good that he did or was trying to do, right, in regards to the economy, obviously the stock market was just flowing. And for those of you that aren't in the stock market, well, if you have a retirement, you're still in the stock market, okay? All of that was just completely flowing. The economy was higher than it had ever been. Then, of course, we had COVID that hit. Some say that was an inside job, whoever. All of that's gone by one stupid tweet. That's it. And that's why I think that he needs to remove himself from politics. He's nothing other than a firestorm that will continue to divide this nation.
Absolutely.
That's all.
Thank you. And on that note,
it is Wednesday. It is hump day. You have a few more days to go. We hope that you get through the rest of your week. We'll be back Friday with a little bit more stuff. Who knows? Maybe we'll get a little bit more breakdown about the Saudis and the PGA. Will Monahan be involved? What's happening with Greg Norman? Stay tuned. Live at 5.
Up next on Full Swing.
Oh, episode 2. It's a really good one. Dig into it. Everybody have a great day. Get out there. Keep playing. We'll talk to you guys later.